Mic check 1 2 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and there is always someone that has one that's bigger. What am I referring to? I'm referring to video game collections. And shout out to Heckin' Steve. He put out a video today talking about FOMO when it comes to retro or even just modern video game collecting. And he talked about how, a lot of times YouTubers impact people's desire to collect video games. Pretty much there are a lot of YouTubers, there are a lot of YouTube channels that showcase a lot of really cool retro video games. And then that makes the viewers then want to turn around and go out and buy a bunch of video games. And I do believe that that is true. I do think that YouTubers do have an effect and an impact on, just the everyday YouTube viewer or someone who watches videos about video game collecting. However, I think that in order for you to be a person who watches someone's video game collection or video game pickups, you're a person who already has a propensity to purchase retro video games. It's already in you. The desire to buy video games is already in you. And you're probably just looking for either a community that shares the same propensity, or you're looking for someone to validate the feeling that you have, to want to go and buy video games. Believe it or not, there are a lot of people in the video game community that don't even go on YouTube. They don't even have social media. There are probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who are a part of the retro game community who don't know who Retro Rick is, who don't know who the Game Chasers are, who don't know any of these, popular gaming YouTubers. There are people who are just in their own silo, in their own basement, who just do their own thing. And they're not influenced by anyone. They're just self-motivated to go out and build a collection, because people have been building collections since way before YouTube. However, we live in a very different era, an era where the current generation is influenced by what we see on social media. And before, we were influenced by what we saw on TV. The internet is a huge game changer, right? There was a reason why, like in the 80s and in the 90s, everybody kind of wore the same things, listened to kind of the same music, kind of shared the same mentality and thought process. And that was because we were all getting our media from one of three places: either magazines, TV, or the radio. And this allowed a type of groupthink to be funneled into three main streams of media. And, because that form of media was so controlled, you didn't have as many voices and opinions, or individualistic voices and opinions kind of muddying the waters. It was easy for companies and brands to pretty much control people, for lack of better terms, and help them determine the things that they liked. Now, don't get me wrong, you will always have that group of people in every generation who believes in being unplugged, who doesn't watch TV, who doesn't listen to the radio, and so on and so forth, who doesn't go to the movies. But in the 90s, it was, you were easily more affected by the main streams of media. Well, now we live in an era where everyone has a voice. Everyone has the ability to impact someone else by pulling out their phone, hitting record, pointing their camera at some random video games, and babbling for about 10 minutes and sharing their thoughts and opinions on a number of things, not just video games, but relationships, cars, movies, the woke agenda, the election, whatever you want to put it on, whatever you want to talk about. There are thousands, if not millions, of voices on the internet that are pulling your ear, that are steering you in one direction or another. And I think this is the reason why it's extremely important that if you are someone who is into retro games, if you are someone who's thinking about starting a collection, don't watch anyone. Don't do anything. Just go to your game store, pick out some games, play them, and then figure out what it is you like. Figure out what your niche is, because there's millions of games out there. No, maybe not millions of games, but there's at least hundreds of thousands of games. I don't know if there's millions of video games out there. Someone can let me know down in the comments. But I know there are hundreds of thousands of different video games out there, and there are a lot of different genres and niches. And the problem is that when FOMO comes in, FOMO to me is more about an invisible competition, right? You're over here competing with Metal Jesus, and he doesn't even know who you are. You're competing with Radical Reggie, and he doesn't even know you exist. And you got a lot of people who are trying to keep up with the proverbial Joneses, collecting things that they don't even care about, just to, for what? I mean, for what's the purpose? Um, if you don't genuinely like the stuff that you're buying, you're gonna always have a feeling of emptiness, and have this feeling like, I need to get more to prove something to someone who doesn't even know you're there. And my recommendation is, if you are someone who's struggling with FOMO, or if anything like that, I would say niche down. The best thing you can do, and I've said this for years now on my channel, find a niche that you really enjoy. Stick to beat 'em ups, stick to shoot 'em ups, stick to hack and slashers, stick to RPGs, stick to puzzle games, stick to simulation games, stick to, maybe it's Pokemon, I don't know, but you got to find the thing that excites you the most about video games when no one is watching and when no one else cares. You've got to find that thing and then say, okay, this is my niche. This is really what I'm into, and then start going after that stuff. And there's always going to be people who once you figure that out, you're going to find that there are people on YouTube who do share a similar taste to you. For instance, I love the content that comes from the group My JRPG Life. I think they're an amazing couple. They pick up a lot of really cool stuff, and they love RPGs. I'm not really an RPG guy. I'm not, I've never really been like super into RPGs. I have them. I have some RPGs in my collection. And if I do have an RPG, it's probably because I really like the way the game is presented. I like the graphics. If it's like a 2D RPG, I really love the pixel artwork that accompanies it. There's different reasons why I might pick up an RPG, but I'm more of like a run and gun, shoot 'em up, hack and slash style guy. So for me, I would watch a lot of guys like CGR Undertow. I know that's an older YouTube channel, but they would do a lot of reviews on like games that I like, cool shoot 'em ups and run and gun shooters and things like that. I would watch them a lot. Or I would watch a lot of Radical Reggie. Radical Reggie is also a guy who likes shoot 'em ups. He likes beat 'em ups. He talks about a lot of these really, and he finds these really obscure like shoot 'em ups and beat 'em ups too. He doesn't talk about the games that like everyone's talking about. Usually if there's a really popular game, he'll go and talk about something that's really like obscure. And that was my niche. You know what I'm saying? These are the people that I would watch and say, you know what, oh man, that's a really cool game. It doesn't mean I'm gonna buy every single game that they talk about, but they might mention a game and I might say, oh, you know what, that's a really cool game. I need to go check that game out because I haven't heard of it yet. And perhaps that's something that you may have gotten from my channel. Perhaps I may have shown you a game on my channel and you were like, man, I didn't even know that. As a matter of fact, when on one of my more recent videos, I talked about Spike Out Battle Street, and the majority of the comments that I got in that video was like, oh man, I didn't even know that game existed on the Xbox. I need to go check it out. And yeah, that's really what it is. When you niche down and you figure out which games you actually like, there's less of a likelihood that you'll just start frivolously buying a bunch of stuff that you don't care about, and you'll be able to niche down. And I think Steve hit it on the head. Heckin' Steve, I think he hit it on the head with his video when he was saying, YouTubers do have the power to influence people and influence, their purchasing habits and, what they do. And, me, myself being just being at this point, here in 2024, I don't have a huge channel. My channels, I'm definitely one of the smaller channels on YouTube, but I think, despite being small, I know that my channel still has an impact on, how people feel about their collections, maybe some of the things that they might wind up purchasing. And I definitely don't want to send a message to anyone to where you feel like, oh, just go out and just buy games all the time. Because that's not what it's about. I do have a second channel. It's called Real Life Dad. I think the link to it is either in my bio or it's in a couple of my other videos. But I mean, while this is really cool, I have a whole family, right? Like I've got kids, I've got a lady that I love, and I spend a lot of time doing that. And it might seem like I put a lot of effort and energy into gaming because I may drop 3 videos in a day, but 3 videos in one day might be 30 minutes out of a 24-hour day. I still have the rest of that day and time to spend with my family and do other things. So don't let YouTube get you. Don't let YouTube fool you into thinking that you need to go crazy, building these crazy collections. Invest in yourself, focus on yourself, have FOMO about the things you can learn, about the ways you can develop yourself in your career, and then let this be fun. Video games should be fun. You should be having fun doing this because that's the purpose of this stuff. It's nothing to debate about, for guys to get upset about. I laugh wholeheartedly when I see people getting like angry in the comments about stuff. It's like, dude, these are video games, man. What are you getting mad at? This is supposed to be fun. So Heck and Steve had a good video. Those were my 2 cents on his video. And with all that being said, I did trade away about how many games? Traded away about 20 games today and picked up two games. Now, granted, they were all like 20, like really low tier games, a lot of loose disc stuff. But I was able to pick up this copy of Beautiful Joe Double Trouble. I can't remember if I had this game or not, but this was a very clean copy for the DS. So no money out of pocket today. Did not spend any money. So I was glad about that. Picked up this copy, complete in box of Beautiful Joe Double Trouble on the DS. Very fun game. And then I got a PlayStation 2 game back in my collection. This is one that I had in the past and I sold it. I'm glad to have this one back. Dark Cloud 2 on the PlayStation 2. Was glad to find this one. Really good condition. Yeah, was glad to get both of these. And that's kind of what I'm concentrating on as I move into 2025. I left a comment on Steve's video. In 2025, it's all killer, no filler. And killer's going to be different to everyone, right? You might think that this is a filler game. I think it's killer. I love Beautiful Joe. I love the side-scrolling beat-em-up action. I like Dark Cloud, the Dark Cloud series. I just happened to sell my old copy, so I'm glad to have it back. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. About the whole FOMO thing, about, silently competing to see who has the best collection. That's dumb. Curate your own collection. What makes your collection great is the fact that you've curated it based on your likes, your tastes, and what you want to play. Do that, and you'll never really you'll never be upset. But that does it for me. It's the Y2K Collector. I'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy.